like Courtney Love sat on a smush bag of peaches, but
Oh, we're
and
live.
we're live. So yeah. So I'll finish that at a different time. Have I?
Okay.
Oh, that's what I want to ask you. Have I ever told you about the time Mark Wahlberg and his family bought me Thanksgiving supper?
Supper? No, I did not.
Supper.
Tell me about
Sorry,
supper.
I should have said I should have. I just made the kids supper, so dinner in the rest of the country. Wait,
No, say supper, but say it like you're from Boston. You gotta say supper.
oh, does any of your family say supper? Does anybody else leave it in the comments? Is that anywhere outside of the New England region?
I feel like so. I grew up in California, but like out in the boonies, so like Palmdale or
Oh,
Lancaster or
Palmdale. Yeah.
people would say sometimes, but it was kind of like what their family origin story was. Like if they were from the Midwest or they were from the East
Yeah.
Coast. Like, I think it's mostly an East Coast thing.
Yeah. So I forget. I consciously try to say dinner when I'm speaking with other people. Because when I was on the radio so there were two things that kept happening to me this week. Well, like this was a really tough week, but two things kept coming up. One was that, like, using the proper language around certain people, because the boss I used to work for, I would say the word aunt. I don't know. How do you
Instead of
say
aunt.
what is that what you say?
That's how I say it. Yeah, aunt.
Okay. And my old boss, I say aunt. So my
Okay.
aunt Barbara just passed away this morning. So I've been thinking about it all week. And
Jeez.
he used to, yeah. So it's been a tough week,
I'm
but
sorry to
the
hear
show
that.
must go on. Well, I appreciate that. But I did a whole video on my feelings about, well, I know you mean it, but the people who send the
Of course.
thoughts and prayers tweets, I did a
Good
whole video
vibes.
on, yeah, 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 the condolences, good vibes, a whole video really going at it in the Target parking lot today. And that's on the other channel, another one at ANOTHAON3. That is brutal. That's like doing a math equation. And don't forget to follow Ample Thought. So I'm going to get into the time Mark Wahlberg and his family bought me Thanksgiving supper or dinner, whatever it is. But I always say aunt, and my old boss pulled me off the air, pulled me aside and said, "That's how black people say it. You need to say aunt." And I was shocked because I
What?
had never heard that before. Yes, I couldn't believe it either. And there was a parody song I did called "Hey There, Aunt Jemima," and that's how I sang the whole thing. And he said, "No, you're re-recording it to say Aunt Jemima." And it was
Wait,
just
wait, wait,
brutal.
wait. Stop. Stop. It was about Aunt Jemima. You
Yeah.
said Aunt Jemima, and he said you can't say it that way because black people say that. But I just want to be clear, it was about Aunt Jemima,
Aunt
a,
Jemima, but
a classically known black woman, or at least that's who she's modeled after.
listen,
Okay.
the whole thing was
Okay. Just
confusing
want to
to
make
me
sure.
too. And remember, I was young, but that has always stuck out. So whenever I talk about my aunt, I go, "Is somebody judging me right now?" I'm just very aware of it. So when you were like supper, um, that I was like, "Oh shit, I got to remember
Let's
I'm
do a
in
whole
other
other
company."
episode on different things the way people say it across the country. That's a whole other episode. Tell me about your story about Mackie Mac.
Okay, so this is not a few beers back, a few years back. I was living on the South Shore where the Wahlbergs are from, and they live. Well, no, they live closer to the town that I was living in, but they are originally from Dorchester. That's like the famous that they're from Dot, and Mark, Donnie, those are the really famous ones. And then Chef Paul is his other brother who started Wahlburgers. I don't know if they have them out by you. They're kind of all over around here. Great
They're
place.
sold in they're
One.
sold in the stores, just the packages, but they don't have I
Oh,
don't think they have one out here.
okay. So if you ever go, just don't get the cupcakes. Everything else is great. The cupcakes are so, and they get them from a local bakery out here. So I don't want to go into that. But great plate, really great burgers. Chef Paul is amazing. That's Mark's, I believe, oldest brother, and they have a I don't want to say a charity, but I guess it's a charity called Alma Cares. So
Okay.
their mother. Alma is their mother.
Okay. Okay.
And I think like the backstory behind that is like she was notorious with being kind in the neighborhood. Anybody could come over, she'd serve for them, you know. And long story short, they wanted to do it in her honor. And it's a great listen. This is a great thing because at the time I went from making 100,000 a year to nothing. They didn't renew my contract. I knew it was coming, and I was trying to prepare. I almost had a morning show lined up for me in Seattle, but the timing was off, and then a few other things happened. So I just went into this like free fall of if you've ever been laid off, anybody lost their job, especially if you're making a lot of money and providing for a family. At one time, my brother was living with me. I was just always used to being the one, like once my parents died, I had a job so I could help people out. I could keep cell phones on, heat, you know, always had a home if somebody needed to crash. No, never a problem. You could come live with me. You know, I was just used to being able to do that. And this was the first time in Christ, almost 20 years that I just get laid off. So it was shocking, but we really went into this like um fight or flight mode of how are we going to make it, you know? We had no backups, I had no savings. Again, it's like you're getting paid enough to live, but not enough to like save up for a house or save up for anything. It was really tough, and that's why I
Yeah.
fought for more than 100,000. In fact, at one point, I went in. I said, "I need 200,000 to deal with this man baby on the air," because my boss would throw tantrums, and you know, this was a rich guy who just, if he didn't get it his way, you had an issue. Um, so that year, we barely get by. I'm on unemployment after my severance runs out. It comes to the holidays, and this is, you know, if you got kids, you make magic happen no matter what. You
Yeah.
know, you
Of
just
course.
you always try to hustle, figure it out. But listen, Thanksgiving is one of those holidays we can kind of go, wow, we'll just do without. You know, the kids will have a day
Mm.
off, it would be fine. And this charity uh provides, I forget, thousands of meals on the South Shore every year. Every year, no questions asked. You know, you can go pick up. They do this really incredible thing because it's a turkey, a bunch of French fresh vegetables, a bunch of canned, like you know, the cranberry, the corn,
The
but it's
yams,
an
all that.
entire yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm talking like totally decked out, and that is from the Wahlberg family. So
Mm.
Marky Mark, and his older brother Paul. I don't know how much he has to do with it. You can look up the numbers, and it's incredible because this charity, I believe, actually loses money some years because
Mm.
of how much they're providing for the community.
Mm.
Um, so you know they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And listen, I am forever grateful. I didn't want to take it. Like I said, I was prepared to just go, we don't need to do Thanksgiving. In fact, to this day, we're kind of the odd ones out. We just don't celebrate Thanksgiving. My wife's a nurse. She usually has to work. So we just kind of don't, you know what I mean? It's like it's a lot of money for one day and
Yeah.
we can never celebrate on that day. So we skip it. But I was not ready to take that charity. Didn't want a piece of it. Was ready to go without. And reluctantly, I took it and very grateful. But it's always bothered me because one, you feel indebted. You feel,
Mm.
uh, forever indebted to somebody who, especially at the moment, and I'm sure people can understand, like in the moment of tragedy or some kind of, you know, financial ruin that you're just enduring, you don't think like, oh, in a year I'll be fine. I can pay it back. You're like, I'll never be able to do this again. How am I going to pay this forward? How am I going to pay them back? And I hate resting with that on my chest because, and if you know, hey, I don't know who that is,
That's the
but
Seha person who was there last time. I don't know who that is, but
oh, awesome. Welcome back. But
well,
the reason I think my character, what I've developed, and we've kind of discussed this off the show, but why I've gotten here is because when both my parents died, I couldn't afford to even make it home to a funeral. I couldn't afford to that
yeah.
was all done out of from goodwill. People I worked with that were like, well, I'll buy you a plane ticket. I'll get you home. To have my mother cremated, my uncle was like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Because I'm sitting here with like maybe $200 in my savings account
Yeah.
going, I can't even afford,
Yeah.
to have a family member die.
Sure.
So I hate I hate charity. I hate goodwill, but not in the sense of like I'm not grateful for it. Very grateful. It gets you
Two
out of a
different
jam.
things. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, you know, I just, and this is where I don't know how you're going to feel about this. Oh no, I lost him. Oh
No,
no.
I'm back here.
Oh,
Hold on. Hold on.
okay. Oh, I like it. Are you going stealth mode? Did you shut
No,
off all
I
the
don't.
lights? Is this like a Five Nights at Freddy's? Ready for the
Oh
jump
my
scare?
god.
I can hear him.
I'm
I
gonna
can hear
jump.
him. Here
I'm
comes
gonna
the jump
jump
scare.
up right behind you. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
If you
I'm.
came out from behind my shoulder, I would literally poop my pants.
Oh my gosh. What do I do? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. What are you doing? I don't know what you do. Just jump out and jump back in.
Okay, I'm gonna jump out.
I think.
Okay,
Jump
let me
out.
try. All right.
All right. Jump out. I got this. Don't worry. If he appears behind me, though, I will. We get by with a little help from a friend. We do. Listen, 100%. Especially that's why sometimes the people that are like pull yourself up by bootstrap it. I'm like, that's not how communities work. That's not how civilization has worked for a billion years. Oh, I hope he can join back in. There. Thank God you're over on the screen. If you had come up from behind me, I would have probably decked you.
I don't know what happened. I got a phone call and it dropped. Like it was a spam call and it dropped. But there was nothing I can do. Like it
What
didn't
did
let
it
me do
show
anything.
on your screen? Did you see me?
Oh, I saw you and I saw me
Okay.
froze like or whatever it was. Yeah. Anyway, continue, please.
Oh, so what I was going to say is this is where I don't know how you feel about it. Uh but I wish instead of giving out Thanksgiving dinners, and I know a lot of people need them, and I know a lot of people are grateful for them. Chef Paul, Donnie, and Mark, would all use their influence and leverage to maybe help fix a system, maybe help get people elected that, can change some of the laws or raise the wage or push the ballots like the initiative Rise Up that I'm pushing for a 20 minimum wage, or do that because as far as things are set up, they're going to have to keep donating to charity every year. People, it's not getting easier. Money is being worth less and nobody's getting raises. So I just wish that these people would just stop doing that. I think some of it has to do with like what I just did, pat everybody on the back. Because they're not doing good things outside of this. I mean, maybe they are, but they're running businesses. It's like this is the
Yeah.
one time a year, from what I've experienced, with like even the billionaire in our state, Ernie Bark Jr., who his dad set up like all these car dealerships. So he kind of, woke up on third and thinks he hit a triple. He's just born a billionaire. And he does all these, and what pisses me off is his name. He's bought his name onto everything. Every theater, museum, it's Bach this. And it drives
Okay.
me nuts because it just reminds me of like the villains in a Batman movie where they like put their name on everything because they want to be perceived as good guys, but really they're like the ones terrorizing the city. And it's the same thing. They're the ones that are oppressing people, but they buy the goodwill. And once every year they get to do a charity thing to be like, hey, look, we're not that bad. Yeah, we pay our employees shit. We don't give them health care or sick days off, but we fed some hungry people. So, that's why the charity thing kind of chaps my hide, because it's like this can be fixed. It's a structural issue we have. Lend your voice to it.
So
I'm sorry.
I know that we've talked about this a lot and we've tried coming at it from different angles, but I don't want to be one of those people who says that there is no solution, because there can be a solution. But honestly, Rob, in the world that we live in, the country that we live in, with the capitalist way we do things, I'll just bring up a point from some more news. Even our political, the way we do politics is so money driven that's how super PACs came along, past just regular PACs. if there is a way to corrupt something for people to get more money over time, and the more powerful get, stay in power, and the rich maintain the kingdom, how,
Consolidation.
yes, how do you think that that could possibly change? People are homeless and the churches are locked. Yes, that is true, Seha. Thank you for the comment. Um,
Well, and growing up, I always knew that churches were supposed to be unlocked. In fact, I've tested that theory quite a few times when I was lacking a home. And for the most part, they were unlocked. But nowadays, things have changed. And that's the horrid thing, especially like the Joel Osteen churches where he had it locked during that horrible storm in Houston.
yep.
Um, so that's kind of just the testament to what my point is. And I see what you're saying, but you hear your answer in what you were in your statement. So you say, there was this buildup, this crescendo, there was this how things got formed, how we got to super PAC. So what I'm saying is like that was all done. That we just didn't
Right,
birth a
but who was
nation
it
with those
done
things
by?
done.
But who was it done by? This is what a lot of people forget to think about. And I have used it as an analogy for many things, but just for a moment. Imagine you have a little ball of solidified um, wax or oil or what
Gelatin. Oh,
gelatin, sure. Who gives a shit? I was thinking oil, but stick with me on the oil. You wrap it around in duct tape, okay? You have, a bunch of pieces of
oil as
tape.
like a liquid, or have we hardened the oil?
Just hear me out. Shoe polish. I don't care, but hear me out. You have this ball, and you have a bunch of tape on it, and then you heat the ball so that now you know that there's oil on the inside, and you chuck it in a lake. Okay? Now, piece by piece, you start pulling off those layers of tape. Call it deregulation, call it whatever you want. A stand-in for something. You take it out. Eventually, you take off all the pieces of tape, and you have a pool of oil that is on the surface of the lake, and it goes over the entire lake. Are you still with me? Now, reverse that process. You can't do it.
It's just like any cleanup for an oil spill. You
Once
get the
the
Dawn soap, just like the commercials you see where they clean the ducks and then put them back in the polluted lake. And I'm always like,
no,
why are you
no,
putting
no,
the
no,
ducks
no,
back
not
in the lake?
that. No, you need to collect the oil again and get it wrapped up in that protective layer of tape. You can't do it. Once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't do it. And I'm saying that the way things have gone for the past 50 to, let's say, 90 years in this country, certain things have progressed in a certain way. Charities have been different for 50 years, whether it was Dave Thomas in, I think it's Nashville, no, Memphis, I think it's Memphis. Um, Dave Thomas having a hospital for children, children's care. There are certain things that people dedicate their lives to. We started talking about this last episode, but my point is that if you are going to call out what needs to be fixed, not only do you have to have a myriad of solutions as a possible, way forward, but you need to have a unity of people, a strong, call it a union of some sort, where you have a collective of people who are willing to go, however far it takes to make these collective changes. Where we stop, Rob, unfortunately, is even at the local level of politics. Certain laws aren't going to change. Certain charities aren't going to change. You can beg people to talk about these things, and we can, reach out as much as we can. But Ariana Grande has a business to run. Taylor Swift has a business to run. MrBeast has a business to run. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
Well, and Mr. Beast is one of those people that, and by the way, I don't know if people talk about this. I've heard on an inside track from people who I've reached out to who are bigger influencers on this platform. They've said, he's looking into running for president. Um, and I wouldn't doubt it because you think about his fandom, right?
Okay.
Younger, some of them have grown up with him, or he's been doing YouTube for a decade, or just over a decade.
Okay.
So you think about those kids that maybe like 8, 9, 10 watching him that are now voting age. Uh, you look at whenever he's critiqued, and now I've kind of called him too kind to fail, because people only see, the surface of what he's doing. It's just his 8-minute video with the
Hmm.
thumbnail. That's all they're really digesting. They're not thinking about it. He gives you nothing to think about. He's not questioning anything. He's just kind of out there saying, like, here, I do good deeds. I'm too
Okay.
kind to fail. And when the critiques come in, I challenge anybody to read a critique comment and not see maybe 100 to 1,000 people not only attacking the critique, but attacking it with the same argument. Oh, so I guess you just shouldn't do good things. This is what happens when you do good things. It's like there's no thought process as to, like, no, like, address the critique. Don't just say, like, good things, he can't go bad. Good things, you can't do wrong. And that is a dangerous road to whatever you want to call it, a dictatorship, authoritarian,
What
fascism.
is the dangerous road specifically? What are you saying?
uh
What's the slippery slope? Not
the
critiquing
two,
the
I don't want to
critique.
say too big to fail, but how did I, hold on, because I made a note on this, a basically, um somebody who's done so much good that they can't do bad. Let me just read. So Mr. Beast, just so everybody knows, he just
Oh.
released a video over the weekend. um he has a philanthropy, it's a charity channel, but it's called Beast Philanthropy, and it's separate from his Mr. Beast thing. He started this, I forget how many years back, and essentially he goes throughout the country, throughout the world, and does kind gestures. This most recent video, he built 100 wells in Africa. If you follow that channel, which, be careful, I'll tell you now, if once you look up Mr. Beast once on YouTube, it's going to just keep throwing it at you. It's just going to keep recommending it. Give 10K to an addict. That's a thing. So I'll address that real quick, because that's an interesting point, and I've had to argue this on the air, because a guy I used to work with would really dehumanize addicts, and he would go, because there's a place in Boston called Methadone Mile, and it's where addicts are, homeless people. It's a horrible place, and it's got only 2 rehab facilities on each end. But if you know anything about trying to get into the rehab system, it's almost impossible. There's never a bed open. It's very too short of a duration to really make adequate progress. And I don't, again, I don't want to dive into this, but he would argue that. He would say, what am I going to do? Hand these people money and they're just going to go buy drugs with it? Well, yes, they might, because they're in an addiction. It's just like he said, well, what am I going to do? Give this cancer person some money? What are they going to do? Go get chemotherapy with it? It's like, but there's also the other side of that, where these people are human, and
Yeah.
they're doing this addiction not because they want to, but because they have to feel okay, to not totally go into withdrawal, to not, in their mind, die, to be able to survive another day. But some of those people, and this has been tested, there is a book. Oh, shoot, I don't want to grab it right now. There is a book by Rutger Bregman, Dutch historian, who does a beautiful synopsis of projects that did work with homeless people or addicts, where they
Hmm.
just gave them a place to live, no strings attached. And these people went back to school, they got clean, they got jobs, they got better jobs. They went back to school and got better jobs. So you don't know if that $10,000 might be a lifeline for them to get into a rehab, for them to get a car so they can work. So that's where it really becomes a dangerous road to just write people off as not being human, whether or not they have an addiction or not. Um, so back to Mr. Beast and the charity that it's almost like that. It's like the charity that he does. You could kind of pose that question, but he built 100 wells in Africa, right? This is almost a sequel to an earlier video. I saw his earlier video. That's why this one, like, really touched the nerve with me, because he had went to Africa before and, like, built wells.
Hmm.
And at the end of this well building video, he says, I guess, I'll just have to keep doing this. I don't know why the governments won't, but, I'm here to, almost like the white savior. Okay.
Hmm.
I think America's number one export. I don't know if white saviors count in the GDP. Maybe that's why it went up. But our number one export is obviously white saviors, because anybody, you can watch his video, watch at the end. He says, I guess I'll just have to keep doing it. Like, oh, let's just pat him on the back. Thank God he's saving the day,
But
which
didn't you
no
think
doubt.
something else as well that was kind of that people were really calling him out for?
Oh, so and then he asked for donations, which to me was insane. I was like, did he not pay attention to what happened with The Rock and Oprah when they were like, we put in like 500,000 or 1 million, I forget. And then they were like, now you donate. And it's like, we're struggling to survive. Okay. For instance, just so you know, when I talk about addicts, I am one. I'm a recovering addict. I always will be. It doesn't matter if I'm using or not. I will always be fighting that recovery battle. So I could speak to that very honestly and very with the firsthand experience. But the other thing is my video on my podcast channel, another one with Rob, was all about how we can't even afford to die. Okay. So while
Hmm.
Mr. Beast is asking for us to help with wells, I would love to. Trust me,
Yeah.
2 years ago for my birthday, I did, I think it's called charity water. That's all I
Hmm.
asked for. I asked for people to donate to build wells in Africa. That's the whole thing. You set up and 100% just goes to this organization that helps get fresh water in Africa. So I'm all for it, but I had to do that with other people's money because I didn't have any.
Yeah.
So with today and this whole week of him asking, I'm like, my aunt just passed. I can't go to her funeral. Her cousin, or my cousin, her daughter, I called this morning as soon as I found out. And thankfully, she has someone in her life. And I don't want to go into her story too much. I'll always talk about mine, other people's. I'm very protective of it. But just let's say, thankfully, somebody's helping her just to get to where her mom has passed away because it's a plane
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
And this is what we're dealing with in real time, real life. Meanwhile, this dude is worth, I forget, they said 112 million, which I think is such a low number for his net worth.
I agree. It's I mean I can't remember what I saw, but I saw projections over time, and then how other people calculate net worth and all that. He's got it. I mean, I'm guessing it's over 250 million.
It's got to be. I just think it's shy, and I even looked up. It was updated 5 days ago because I was like, this has to be an outdated number. 100 million. I'm like, this guy's pulling in millions, millions
Yeah.
every month. Um, and that was the other thing that really chapped my hide about the end of the thing. He says, I don't make any money off of this.
No.
I don't make any money. And I thought, and you could probably attest to this, like you 100% do.
Of
Not in
course.
the view, he's maybe putting all the money from views and ads and sponsors. And I'm trying to think what else he could get from just that video. But it is building his net worth just by having this influence, this profile, this avenue of like, hey, I'm a good guy, you got to invest in my brand because my brand, you get this, the white savior um perception, and
Okay,
people throw money
but
at that.
there are degrees to all of these things. So, for example, if you're a televangelist and you're I forget what the gospel preaching is, where you say in the book of Mark, it says to give, whatever you give, it'll come back to you a hundredfold. Prosperity churches in
prosperity
so
prosperity gospel. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So
That's Joel
those
Osteen, just so
guys,
you know.
well, Joel Osteen, I mean, Kenneth Copeland, there are so many names, right? And there are so many names that we don't hear about, like, you need to give to this church. You need to give to me. God told me to tell you to give me your
God told me.
last check so that I could buy this new $43 million plane that I'm going to use to travel all the way. Now, don't mind the fact that I already have 4 planes. God told me, give me this next plane. So you
This
reach
one.
into your wallet and you give me a plane. So there is that level, right? There is that degree to which you say, please be part of my world. And I mean, let's think about what would be the low range of that after saying, Mr. Beast wants you to subscribe, wants you to make comments, wants you to keep that algorithm going for his channel. And with the money that he makes, he will, and we have no idea how much he spent to help build, because he didn't solely by himself build 100 wells, whether he poured
He was the
concrete.
director.
say that
Well,
he's the
if you
director.
watch the video, he's in every video, it feels like he's very much the director. Not only of the film, but like of whatever's happening. It seems very much like he just dictates, and things happen in front of him.
So, knowing personally knowing somebody who has done not only charity work in Africa, but has helped give water and brought chickens to certain villages so that they would have that and chicks and they could raise their own chickens and all of that to feed people, teach a person how to fish. Um, we don't know all that it took for him to do that. So I want to hear if you can come up with something specific other than saying, hey guys, I don't make any money from this. I think maybe, actually, it's more than probable. In his mind, he's saying, listen, I'm not getting money back from these wells, just so we're clear, everyone. Just so you know, I'm not getting money from this enterprise right now. But yes, we know that he is making money uh, hand over fist from any one video, let alone that video that got him, I don't know, 100 million views, 60 million views.
67 million views in the first 3 days. So you got to
There you
take
go.
into account, it hasn't even been a week that video's out.
Yeah, and
So
people won't hear about it for a month, and then there'll be the second wave and the third wave of people being, I can't believe he did this. But what specifically, other than what we discussed just now, do you think that you have a problem with Mr. Beast or any celebrity that has that avenue? Marky Mark, Oprah, whoever.
here's what I really despise. Okay. I know you're not really on Twitter anymore. I wish you'd come back. It's a great place to get. Listen, Twitter's great because
It's
it's
not a great
firsthand.
place. It's not a
I
great
hate
place.
that. I
You know what?
hate that Elon owns
Instagram,
it.
great place, but the happiness of Twitter is like the super saturated colored world of like Inside Out or Elements, the Pixar show or whatever. And Twitter is like Underworld or like The Crow or something like that.
Oh,
Super saturated. Sin
I love the
City.
Crow.
I
Sin
love the Crow
City,
too,
yeah.
but you get my point.
But it's great for you can get these people who you'd never get. I mean, usually their quotes are relayed through a different medium. You know what I mean? Like the news or
Yeah,
TMZ, or they'll say, "Hey, said this." Twitter, you just see what Mr. Beast is saying. And what he
yeah,
said, I have
that's
the
true.
quote. So,
Okay.
in response to backlash on his freshwater video, Mr. Beast took to X, I won't call it that, Twitter, to plead his case. Here's his tweet. He said, already I know I'm going to get canceled because I upload a video helping people. And to be 100% clear, I don't care. He doesn't care so much that he tweeted about it. I'm always going to use my channel to help people and to try and inspire my audience to do the same. That's why he's saying, donate to me. Don't you go out. He never at the end of his video says, go and help somebody. Lead like I do. He
He
says,
said do
donate
the
to me.
same. What's wrong with him saying do the same? Did I
He
miss
says, do
something?
the same.
You
Did
just
he
said the
say, do the
quote.
same?
What is the end of that quote? To others to do
He
the
says,
same, yes?
I'm using my channel to help people and try to inspire my audience to do the same. What I'm saying is he tweeted that. Most of his audience is not on Twitter. His
Oh,
audience are kids that are
now
watching
you're
YouTube
pissed
videos.
off about the
He's
medium to which he like disseminated that information.
monetization doesn't cover his costs, so he advertises himself as chocolate bars, etc. But that's not true. He's making so much money. What you don't realize, it's not about the views, the per mil views or whatever, however they calculate it. I forget the language right now. But he's also got sponsors, but got like he's talking about the chocolate bar, but I'm talking about within the YouTube realm. He has more than just, and watch any video, he'll say like, hey, if you love this shirt, well, he does, he promotes his shirt and his merch, but he also has like these sponsorships that will pay him a lot of money. Done is better than perfect.
I
Listen,
agree. That is my wife, and thank you, Sarah. That is perfect. Done is better than that.
explain that to me.
Done is better than perfect. Okay, so here's an old
In
Chinese
in this
trope.
in I But in this scenario,
He did something good. he didn't do it perfectly to Rob's liking.
Everybody's talking. I love
Hi,
that there's
sir.
a conversation going on.
Yeah.
Listen,
So
tell me the Chinese proverb. Come on, bring that one because
Chinese
I
proverb:
love that one.
those who say it can't be done shouldn't interrupt the person doing it.
But here's the issue. I'm not saying it should be perfect, and I'm not saying it that it can't be done. What I'm saying is you shouldn't go onto a platform and say, I'm just trying to inspire other people to do it while saying the exact opposite. Watch the end of his video, folks. I have. He says,
Saying
I
the
guess I'm going.
exact opposite what?
So that's what I'm getting to. He
Oh, okay.
says, I don't know why the governments aren't doing this. I guess I'll have to keep saving the day. He says, I'll keep doing. He's the white. So here, before we get into it, I just want to read a couple of quotes because these were so fascinating. Okay.
Okay.
And this is my point. Kind of these activists really nailed what I was feeling, and I could support them because I'm glad we have to get this out of the way because once this video is existing on YouTube, I'm going to get a beat down from the commenters on, oh, why don't you go do it? At least he's doing it. I'm trying to think all the comments. They're all in the same line of thinking where it's just like, Mr. Beast
Yeah.
do good. You don't. Mr. Beast do good. He can't do wrong. It's very caveman. It's that Geico caveman. It's like he do good, no do bad. He do good, and it's like like if he runs for president, you understand how this is going to go. He's going to do one good
Wait a
thing,
second.
make a
Wait.
video about it.
Time. Like our last video, do you know what this sounds like to me? Jealousy.
What? That's going to be a comment. That's going to be a comment. You're just jealous.
No,
But I'm not.
I'm not saying you're just jealous. I'm not saying you're just jealous. I said, you know what that sounds like to me? Now listen, and I'm gonna prove that to you. Okay? Or I'm gonna try to anyway. If you, Rob, had
Rob who? Oh, if I me. Okay, my name. My name
you're
is a
you.
verb. If you rob somebody.
If you robbed the hood, no. If you had $1 million, Robbie, we've already talked about this. There is somebody that you have in your past that you would immediately give like 50 grand to, right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. So if you found yourself with the capacity to help other people because your bills are paid, your kids are fed, you have good security, you have job security going forward, you know where your path is, and something presents itself, hey, Rob, we'd really like to have you at our farm in frickin' Illinois. It doesn't matter. Okay. You are the type of guy that we would like to have here. And you go out to Illinois and it's a blueberry picking farm. It doesn't matter. But you go out there and you're like, these migrant farm workers are like really doing a good job. And this farmer's really taking care of them. That sounds rare to me from what I know, but I don't know everything. So let me investigate this more. And I'm just to wrap it up that you say, hey, I actually eventually got to the Illinois state legislature and I am trying to help pass a law to do blah, 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 blah. Just so you know, everybody, I'm not making any money from this. And I hope this inspires you to do something similar. No one would have a right to criticize you simply for you doing what you thought was right in the time and you had the capacity to do so. Do you disagree with anything I've said so far?
Yes, I don't want to be called a contrarian, but I only do because of a couple specific things that you could say it's apples to oranges. It's not, the same scenario. Oh, later.
Bye.
It's mostly because, like, if I'm going to fix a systemic issue, that's not what Mr. Beast is doing or said. He was like, I have to take this on myself, donate to me because I have to do it. He was very me centric, which if that doesn't chap your hide, I'm like, what
He
about
didn't
like,
say donate to me. He didn't say donate to me. So take
yes,
that
he
out.
did. He did.
Read it
Watch
again.
the video.
Oh,
No, not in his tweet. At the end of the video, he says donate because I have to do this. Did you watch the video? Did you watch the end?
I thought I watched all of it. I guess I didn't finish
Go.
it.
I wish I had I could probably pull it up and say, let me read these quotes real quick, because I get
Okay,
what you're saying.
and
Like,
we
who
got to
who
move
could
on to other
criticize
stuff.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who okay, so Francis Gaito, I I'm probably butchering that name, did a fiery rant that has gotten a million views, and says, and you, Mr. Beast, are not supposed to be coming here to validate some of these long held stereotypes that Africa is poor. We no longer need philanthropy, the activist said. We don't need you in exchange for views because you're going to recover all your money, the views on the social media platform. Now you're going to leave a lasting image about Kenya. No, we're not a poor country. Gaito further argued that viewers should ask for an audit of amount spent versus amount gathered from social media monetization. This guy's hardcore, okay? The next person's a little bit uh you know tapered than this dude, and concluded that Mr. Beast's whole video was a charade that reveals his non-existent moral sensibilities as he chases views for his white audiences. Now, Saran Kaba Jones, founder and CEO of Face Africa, an organization working to improve water infrastructure and sanitation in sub-Saharan Africa, spoke out about this very notion. She says, "I've been doing this for 15 years, but we've been struggling to continue the work because funding, awareness, and advocacy all take work," she explained to CNN. Continuing, overnight, this person comes along who happened to be a white male figure with a huge platform, and all of a sudden he gets all this attention. It's kind of frustrating, but it's also understanding the nature of how this world is. Jones did applaud Mr. Beast's efforts, but pointed out some potential pitfalls of his actions, namely sustainability. It's one thing to go in and install the well. It's another thing for us to go back to 3, 4, 5 years from now and see that the well is still functional. She explained further, 60% of the wells are broken and people go back to drinking from the creek because there was no infrastructure put in for follow-up or maintenance or repair. So to what you're speaking to, again, I think it's great he did this. I really applaud him for the first video where he made wells, this one where he made wells. But just as I watched it, I thought of, do you remember the show Extreme Home Makeover?
Yeah.
I don't think it's on the air anymore. It was huge. When I
Mhm.
was on the radio, they would talk about it, they would cry, it was really a moving show. And for those who do not uh are too young to remember this show, it was Ty Pennington, and he would go and he would pick, allegedly they had a checklist of families they wanted, like kids with multiple Down syndrome or families with cancer, like yeah, if you watch or if you read, the Smoking Gun did a report where they had like a
That's
list.
gross.
Because listen, again, it's like, why is Mr. Beast going to Kenya to build wells? Because he's going to get viewed. I'm just saying this as matter of factly. This is not my opinion. It's just he's going to poor places because people are going to go, oh, look, he's doing good things for poor people.
Sure.
It's the same thing with this show. So HG, or not, Extreme Home Makeover would go to very, I don't want to call them poor, but uh just bad situation, families in really hard situations, just got laid off, military, coming home with PTSD, or maybe they lost somebody, the father, and they would tear down their house and build it back up. And a lot of the times the customization was like extreme. But Patrick CC, who is on YouTube, and you can watch this whole video, does a great breakdown of why that show eventually came off the air and the things that were wrong with it. Because for a 30-minute show, it's amazing to see Ty Pennington go, move that bus. And they would park a big bus in front of the
Hmm.
house. They'd chant, the whole neighborhood would be there, pull away, and the house would be all redone. But if you watch it with a different eye and you think of property taxes, utility bills, upkeep, the customization, if you're going to sell, it's just like Omaze is a charity that you can buy a ticket.
Mm.
You do free tickets too, which I do free tickets. But whenever they're giving away a home, I always think like I would have to try to sell it right away because I could not afford property taxes. I couldn't afford the utilities. So when you watch it with that eye of like, Extreme Home Makeover, this family is in rough shape right now. How are they going to afford the taxes, the utility bills? And Patrick CC goes into detail how about utility bills went from 200 to 600. They put a jacuzzi in a teenager's hot tub, in a teenager's bedroom. And if you've ever known the upkeep of a pool or jacuzzi, like your bedroom's going to smell like chlorine. And to drain it, what are you going to do? A hose out the window?
I
So they
have
would
no
do
idea.
these elaborate. they would do these elaborate things for TV, but essentially it put the family in worse situations. One family went bankrupt, one family had to sell the home, like it just made it worse because the upkeep. So saying that, that's how I watched the Mr. Beast video. I went, this is great, but once he leaves, it's like, do they have the infrastructure, the uh access to keep this well running, or is it just he's gone, in a month it's broken and they're drinking from the creek again and he
So
got his
let's
views?
find out. Let's find out. I mean, let's stay on it and, do a
Yeah,
as much of a checkup on it as we can. But again, I'm kind of stuck on the place of, he does a video, does, all these videos for years, never touching a well. And he gets one comment of somebody saying, it's not like you're doing anything for charity. It's not like you're, digging wells in Africa. And he takes that to heart, let's say. And goes out there and then he gets all this shit for digging the wells. And then he's like, fuck it. I'm never digging a well again. Are you happy, motherfuckers? Now, that would be a terribly immature response to that. But what would you like? Would you be happy? Here's an anecdote or, philosophical thought. Would you, Rob, be happy if he said, I'm never digging a well again. You guys ruined it. I don't know why you guys had to be so toxic about it. You, Rob, are the worst person ever. I was trying to do something nice. Would you, Rob, feel good that he stopped doing it?
Don't
I
say
would
yes. That
feel
would be a lie.
no. I wasn't going to say yes. I would feel much like what I felt when he said, I'm going to get canceled for this. I felt very much like, oh, he like doesn't know much about the world,
I agree.
because he made this comment like, I'm getting canceled. And I'm like, if if you think YouTube's going to pull the
No.
plug on Mr. Beast, you're high. You're
They are.
high.
Or
That
Joe
there's no way.
Logan, or like, I mean, we got to move on to that. I mean, I think that's a pretty good preface
So
for.
yeah, so let me reference or let me bring to a resolve what you're talking about, like
Okay.
because that makes a great point, because that's essentially where I'm going with this. Um, is he above critique? Do you seriously think that? Because when you were, the way you stated it was perfect too. Like, you made it toxic, but that's why I was saying, like, these are just facts. I'm not like he went to Kenya, not me. So I'm just talking
Right.
about, like, you obviously picked a certain spot for a certain reason. Can we not, and even bigger, he said the government, and this is what's so like wrong with it to me. I'm like, he could have looked up an organization that's been doing this, worked with them, gave them a ton of publicity, probably got them millions in funding, and he just chose to be the only way that this could get done. He overlooked that activist, which, that's my favorite thing about YouTube. These huge people can interact and put on a platform these smaller activists who have been doing it for decades. And he just totally bypassed that. But not only bypassed it, he said, I'm the answer. And that's a scary thing for me. No, he did. And that's how he
Okay.
feels. And that's why he says, I'm going to get canceled. I don't care. That's why I'm bringing it up to everybody, but I'm going to get canceled, which is not true, but it plays the victim for him and it gathers his army. That's what it really does. What he was doing is preferencing his audience to go, you need to attack anyone that critiques me, because I'm not making this toxic. What I'm doing is going, so a while ago on his channel, he made 100 people that were blind or hard of sight. He
Mm-hmm.
fixed them with a LASIK. And on Twitter, after, which I thought was very young of him to do, he said, this almost costs nothing. And the return, and that's the other thing that irritated me. He called people a return on investment, an ROI. And I went, these are fucking humans, bro. Like, not a return on investment. Like, just like the investing in people is a beautiful thing. Who cares about the return? But he said the ROI is staggering. Like, once these people can see, they can go back to work, they can do all these things and participate with the community.
Yeah.
He said, I don't understand why the government just doesn't do that. And everybody said, yeah, that's why we're fighting for like universal health care. Like, bro, wake up. This is the systemic thing. And that's why they call it being woke. And you saw, and I actually had some hope for him. I went, this is what I wish he would do at the end of his videos. I wish he would grow up a little bit. I wish he had a mentor, someone like me, to come in and go, hey, bro, at the end of your video, go,
Rob.
let's look
Rob.
let's
Did you say like
You
is your
ego so big that
It
you're
is.
like that?
No, in a little bit, okay? Okay, you can say hi. He just wants to say hi. My son wanted to say hi to you. He said hi, buddy. I told you a few minutes. No, he doesn't. Okay. He was asking if you make video games. He was like, wait, does he
I
make
do
video
not.
games?
No.
All day he had an idea about a troll video game that he's very detailed out and he wants to make when he's older.
We'll talk off of this because I know somebody who does make video games.
Really?
Yeah.
For real? That's cool. He's
I
gonna
don't
lose
I don't
it.
want to
Say the name yet, but yeah, I'll tell you afterwards. I've actually
So,
told you before, but anyway.
so anyways, back to me.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, you think that you, Rob, or someone like you, Rob. I mean, this is where I want to leave it. This is my last 2 bits about it.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't have all the available information, let alone most of the information. Mr. Beast doesn't have all of the information, but for what he experienced and asked questions in Kenya before he got there, all of that. I'm not saying that he is above critique by any means. In fact, as a public figure, somebody who, not just purports, but is outwardly, evidentially doing good work, is especially, should be critiqued, should be questioned, should have a higher level of transparency than most people. So
With
I'm not
greater
saying,
responsibility comes greater something. Greater powers come greater responsibility. Spider-Man.
yeah.
you pretty much got
I
it.
just watched
Anyway,
Spider-Man, so his Uncle Ben says that.
yeah, with
A great
great power comes
responsibility.
stop
Oh,
messing it up. Anyway,
you can take a T-bone look at a bull, but you
up
can't
his
stick your head up
ass.
to the butcher's ass.
His ass. No, it has to be your bull.
No,
Okay,
it's got to be your bull.
moving along. I'm gonna name off some names. I'm just jumping the ship. We're done with Mr. Beast for now.
And by the
Kanye
way,
West.
when I said me, hold on. When I said me, just so you know, I meant someone older. Because what scares me is like his whole crew is young, so he's developing this like don't question me or you're saying I'm canceled, and that's scary to watch someone grow up with this much influence and power not be receptive to like, hey, I'm willing to grow, and that's what scares me the most. So I really feel like, and just so you know, I watched a documentary. His dad isn't in his life, and that's where I feel like, we're all the right wingers saying, "Oh, the grown up without dads." Like a dad plays that role where he can go, "Hey, I've lived a little bit. Here's, some of the things we should be looking into, the structural issues that you could really help push." Listen, if he said tomorrow universal health care, I'm all for it. You don't think a legion of people would be voting for it or voting harder for it, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just
maybe.
but
mean,
so he says he's canceled, and let's get into that because these motherfuckers keep saying I'm gonna get canceled, and I think it's a PR stunt. I think it's, if anything, it makes them a lot of money.
It is certainly in vogue, no matter who you are. I'm going to go through a list, listen, and then I want to talk about a few specifics.
Hold on, and by the way, they're gonna cancel me for canceling Mr. Beast. There we go. That should get us some more views.
Now you made it meta.
That's what I'm gonna change the title of this video to: getting canceled for canceling Mr. Beast. I said the title in the video. That's like when they say the name of the movie in the movie.
I hate meta.
I hate Mark Zuckerberg too. I'm so glad we agree.
Kanye West,
Elon Musk, Will Smith, Olivia Wilde, Amber Heard, Adam Levine, Cristiano Ronaldo, James Corden, Marilyn Manson, Ellen DeGeneres, Joe Rogan, Supreme Court Justice Thomas, Balenciaga, Ticketmaster, J.K. Rowling, Sharon Osbourne. Have I said enough names to realize that some of these people, let's just say Marilyn Manson being the top pick,
deserve to
be, it's not even a word of cancel or cancel culture or whatever. Some people need to be brought to justice, period. I'll go back to Justice Thomas.
That's a better explanation.
Our Supreme Court needs to have ethics. And of all people to say it, it was who's the newest Not newest. Oh my gosh. What's her name?
What?
Supreme Court Justice.
This female given by Trump.
Oh, Karen? I don't know. She's just Karen.
Anyway,
She thinks ethics might be good for the Supreme Court. She's the only one who's said anything out loud thus far.
Yeah,
I
but
said,
she only said that. That was not like a
no,
genuine
no,
sentiment.
no.
She said a lot of things in her what is it called when they interview them before the job? She said a ton of stuff, and
I
then
don't
as
know.
soon
I'm
as she got the job,
blanking
she was
on
like,
words.
"Got you."
Yeah. Interview process.
Yes.
I can't think
yes,
of anything.
that.
What is happening?
That's all right.
Anyway,
It's been a
so
tough week. Don't worry. Did you say Roseanne, by the way, in that?
I didn't say
Roseanne, yes, we're going to talk about Roseanne as well. People who have not been canceled: Louis C.K., Roseanne. I mean, let's just do 2 by 2. So those two people
Well,
not canceled.
let's do Roseanne real quick because Roseanne was very big because she had the return of her self-titled show, Roseanne. And then I forget why she said she got canceled. Why she lose the show? Do you remember? I totally
Yes.
just forgot.
Oh, I remember exactly why.
Please
She
tell.
tweeted when Twitter's still a thing. She tweeted that a congresswoman, Valerie Jarrett, I believe she's congresswoman, Valerie Jarrett,
Oh yes. Yeah.
looks like a combination of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes.
That's right.
Valerie Jarrett.
Oh
It's a
my
black
God.
woman. So the response was swift, and it was
Rightfully and righteously
righteously brutal against her. It took 24 hours for, I think ABC. Yeah, ABC is who had her show. Or NBC, whatever. One of the BCs had her show and was like, what?
BCs.
What are you doing?
That's not,
and
I never put that together that they're all BC. No, CBS.
wait,
but
USA Us. USA Us. Has anyone ever thought of that before? USA Us. The US. Anyway, okay, I won't go down there. Anyway.
I like the BCs. It was one of the BCs.
So she came out, she talked to Rabbi Shmuley, as many will do in these times. She converted to Judaism and then went away and then came back. I don't know. But she went on his show, a podcast, and was sobbing. And it sounded so genuine. And for a millisecond, I thought, you know what? She is genuine and she really feels bad, and she didn't mean to be racist, because she said, I didn't even know she was black. First of all, that was a lie. Secondly, she had already said previously on Twitter that Michelle Obama looks like a monkey. So you can't say that you didn't know it. And during her crying apology, she said, I would never refer to a black person as a monkey, except she already did it. So I don't know what she was trying to prove. I mean, one of my comedy heroes came out, Norm Macdonald, and said she's not racist. And I said, I don't want to get into what racism is or what we mean when we say someone is racist, but that was racist. That was a racist comment. And she said during that thing, I've lost everything. I think it was 2 to 3 days after.
2 or 3 days
After the tweet is when ABC said, you're not coming
pull
back
the plug.
To the show.
On her. They kept the show.
On her. They kept the show because nobody else did anything. And I think it was Lori Metcalf who said, there are other people working here. Like, she's got to figure out her own stuff. But this was a job. This was a plan. This was supposed to happen. Please don't cancel the rest of us. And I think she helped and other people helped with the show to keep it going. All that being said, on her show or on that podcast with Rabbi Shmuley, she said, I just feel so terrible. This isn't who I am, all of that. And if you saw her raving lunaticness yesterday in Florida at Donald Trump's rally, she is unhinged, dude. She is absolutely unhinged.
Did
Yeah,
did
she
they
spoke.
bring her up at the rally?
She opened up for him. Yeah, she
Okay.
brought him on stage and screamed like she was
See,
screaming the
see
national anthem.
how
But I don't want to get off track.
see, hold
All
on.
right.
See how canceled she was? She's so canceled now she's an opening act. She used to be the main thing.
Well, she's an
Now she's
opening
an
act
opener.
for a 4 times indicted former president. I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, yes, Roseanne was not canceled. She said that in that thing that she lost everything. She lost her show, as she should have, and she didn't lose anything else. She didn't
She
learn
even
a
said,
lesson from that at all. She didn't have any contrition thereafter. And she has gone right back to saying, I mean, she said one more thing that she said in that podcast is, I prayed and I said, God, if you give me another chance, I'll be a better person. She can be a better person all she wants, and she can have her political beliefs. To be clear, I'm not crapping on her for being a Trump supporter. What I am crapping on her on is the vitriol and the hate and the racism and the, I mean, she's misogynistic to a certain extent as well, which is kind of funny because she's also a feminist icon in some ways. But she didn't learn anything.
well, it's like we say in the comedy episode, if it's just mean and not funny, especially for a comic. Roseanne is a comic. She was a working comic before she had her show.
She's
She
still a
will tell you
stand-up
her
comic.
well,
Still a
and even to
Comic.
speak to not being canceled, she did an HBO comedy special after which she made this, the getting canceled, all the
her whole
material.
thing.
That's
Yeah, her whole thing.
that's it. She capitalized off of being canceled. But Roseanne, being a comic, you would think that if you're going to tweet, you're going to write something that's meant to take someone a roast. Let's just call it a tweet roast. It would at least be clever, funny, something where it's like, wait, it was none of that. It lacked any kind of comedy and it was just mean. So henceforth, when she said I'm canceled, it was really people are holding me accountable and I don't like it. I like free reign. And that's what I think a lot of this is instead of canceled, just say people are holding me accountable for my actions.
Exactly. I mean, I wrote some of that down. I mean, there is a New York Times article. It was written December 3rd, 2020, and I wish I could remember the writer's name. You can find it, but it is about cancel culture and the evolution thereof, starting back in ancient China and the way that it's come through ancient Greeks. Different cultures had their own versions of it, but what is accountability, or what is calling somebody out, or capturing something on a cell phone of a Karen in the wild going crazy because somebody is selling water, or somebody is fishing, or somebody is their music is too loud, it's 2 decibels too loud next to them. That social shaming has been called many things over millennia, but there is nothing new about bullying or even doxing, not in the technological way that we know doxing now, but calling somebody out and saying you need to go to their house. I heard that, I mean, true witch hunts were doxing. You need to go to this woman's house, she's a witch, or this man's a witch, or what have you. You know this better than, some people, what have you, but
I live here. I live
Right.
here.
I mean, it's like
just that way from you. Yeah. Existing mechanisms of calling people out should not be controversial when it is something that they are doing wrong. MrBeast is not getting canceled. Roseanne was canceled. Literally, her part was canceled in her show. That is canceling. But it's not like canceling cell phone coverage or, telephone,
But
what
it's
have
not
you. It's not canceling a subscription to something. It is public, either shaming. I'm not saying I agree with all forms of public shaming, but holding people to accountable and calling out hypocrisy or distortion of facts or distortions of truth or speaking truth to power or being vigilant, otherwise known as woke these days, should not, it has always existed in different forms. And the idea that you can just attack the way in which we call people out as being something that is bad is bullshit, in my opinion. I think that if we can criticize people, we should be able to criticize people. If we can make jokes about things that are clever, like we have discussed, you should be able to joke about anything. I have laughed at the darkest jokes. I mean, Jimmy Carr has some of the darkest jokes anyone could come up with. Jesselnick. I mean, even Carlin has talked about some dark stuff. But
Oh
if it's
yeah, when
brought,
right after my dad passed away, he released one of his later specials where all he talks about is taking your own life. And it was one of those times where, you know what, instead of me trying to cancel him, I was on the radio at the time. I could have totally went on a rampage, but I understood that that was stuff he had thought out, written. He believed it was funny, and for me, you know what I did? I shut it off and went, ain't for me right now. And
right?
it's still not even bits that I like of Carlin. Some of his stuff is required listening for my children once they hit high school. That is just it's you think I kid?
Yeah.
I do not.
Oh, I
When
don't kid
my
either. I agree, but
yeah.
I also agree some of his younger stuff, and I mean like when he was 50 as opposed to 70. Um, because I mean he was doing stuff on HBO when he was 50 that like where he walks right off of the streets in New York right onto stage. Like he was masterful. But what I knew, what I feel that I knew about him and understood about him, and hearing from his daughter and like a whole bunch of stuff, I'll spare you, is that he had an evolution. And at the very end, he was like, you shouldn't take me seriously because I don't take me seriously. And if you don't already get that, then I'm not for you. If this is your first show, you should walk out. Like you, and not that you don't belong. Stay if you want to, but I'm going to say some heinous shit. So whether it's Roseanne being not funny, or whether it's Mr. Beast trying to say that he's going to be canceled for something, the disingenuousness, the inauthenticness of inauthenticity, thank you, is what we're talking about. And I think that should
Well, and
always exist no matter what paradigms shift over the zeitgeist and a million other things. It should always be that if you are true to yourself, which I don't think Mr. Beast is not, let me say it better. I think he is being as genuine as he can. And feel free to criticize him. And he's a public figure. And if he can't take it, then he's in the wrong business, period.
well, if he can't take it and his whole vision and roadmap and goal that he publicly talks about all the time is getting the most subscribers, like
Yeah.
that's all he wanted to do. 100 million. He wanted to beat PewDiePie. He has
Yeah.
been very outspoken about, I want the most subscribers, but no critiques, please. Don't say anything bad. Just you all have to like me. That's fucking crazy. But also, let's take into account, because I know you think he's genuine, and this is where I have to disagree, because I think his
He
intent,
may be.
just like,
I'm not. I'm sorry. Let
yeah,
me let me
I
clarify.
don't
He
think you
may be
believe that.
genuine. I don't know. I don't know enough about him
You
to
don't know
say
him.
I know him well, so I think he's genuine. I'm saying he may be genuine, and I don't know.
From what, and again, I don't know him, but I'm going to confidently say this loudly so people believe me. I'll never forget, someone called in on the radio one day and like yelled at me that dark coffee had the most caffeine. So forever I was like, oh shoot, okay. And they yelled it at me, so I was very much like, oh, I'm so wrong, because I always thought it was the blonde roast, the lighter roast. And then when I started to work at the Coffee Bucks, the Exploita Bucks, I learned that no, the lighter the coffee, the more caffeine the blonde roast is, and the dark has the
I
least
believe.
caffeine.
Right.
It haunts me because I'm like, I was right, and that guy just yelled it confidently at me, and I totally like abandoned my position, and was like, oh, well, I guess that's it, and I started spreading the misinformation until I got educated. So back to Mr. Beast, I think his intent, Roseanne's intent with this canceling, it's malicious. It's meant to rally the troops. Mr. Beast knew what he was doing. Okay. And I say this from not knowing him, but following for him a while. And I noticed that when he starts to feel like people might question me, not make it toxic, not, hate me, just question. Like, hey, why do you think that is? What do you think we could do besides you saying I'm the one who has to do it? Guys, sorry, I have to save the world. Why do we think, like, what else could we invest energy in? Like when people try to force him to think, that's when he uses I'm getting canceled, my legion of 100 million followers, you need to protect me. And that's a dangerous road. I feel like that is so toxic in itself. And by the way, to speak to the character of Roseanne, I don't think I've ever told you the story of when my mom um, got to have dinner where she was having dinner in New York. My mom's from New York. So
Hmm.
at some point, she has a story the night John Lennon passed. She was on a date on a carriage ride. They had the horse and carriage around Central Park where John Lennon was shot. And they heard a bunch of commotion, and this boy ran up to the carriage and said, they just shot John Lennon. And my mom's date almost kicked his ass because he was like, don't mess around. That's not a joke.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she was
yeah.
like, no, really, that's
Yeah.
what the panic is over there, all the sirens and stuff.
Mm.
So it's a eerie thing. But so my mom one night, right? They're out at dinner doing whatever, and Roseanne's having dinner there. And when Roseanne goes to leave, she gets up and she's walking across the restaurant. And this is probably at the height of her show. I'm
Hmm.
probably thinking like late 80s, maybe, or I think touching upon the
No,
90s.
early
Was it?
90s. Yeah, that
Okay,
was the
so
height of
yeah,
her
so
show.
at the height of her show, and she's walking by, this little girl has an ice cream sundae with big whipped cream and cherry on the top, and she comes by and swipes it off and eats it and goes, what, I'm Roseanne, and left. And my mom was like horrified. But that just gives you a little insight into what, when I always talk about the ego, the narcissism, that with her, Mr. Beast, they go, how could I be wrong? How can somebody who has 100 million subscribers be wrong? How could you question me? Look at what I've done. And that is so scary on a small level. On a big level, it's much more horrifying on that kind of level, because once you get people to be complicit with what you're doing and not question it and just go, well, I just totally trust that he has every good intent, I have to give him my money, he's the only one doing it, nobody else can, everyone else is jealous. I mean, it's a very cult of personality. It's a Trump thing. It's almost right out of Trump's playbook.
But yeah, I mean that may all well be happening or whatever. But which one is a greater threat to society? The president of the fucking United States telling people go to the Capitol and shut this shit down because if you don't, you're not going to have a country. That or Mr. B saying, "Hey guys, I might get canceled for this, but I built some wells. I mean, not to brag or anything, but I'm kind of a big thing." Like,
I'm pretty
there's
awesome.
no comparison. There's no
And what I'm
comparison.
saying is, it's not a comparison, it's the road. They're all on that same road. It's just
But
at
that
what
road has
extreme.
existed in fame, no matter who you are, since I don't know when. I mean, we can do a breakdown, but at least since the 80s. I mean, and I
Yeah,
would
but
say,
it's
and even
progressed, don't you say?
I mean, the world has
become smaller because of social media. So yeah, we see it more, we hear it more, it's more available, it's information is disseminated more quickly and more ubiquitously. Um, but like,
And you know
Jer-
what? Here's the other thing. The good thing about this is, and well, I can't say about Trump, but like with let's say Louis C.K. getting canceled, those are what you said earlier. Those are things where people should be brought to justice, and that's not what we're talking about with Mr. B. That's the one thing I can really totally
no.
like,
Yeah.
submit to. It's like this is like the best case scenario of the dangerous road of, you know,
yeah,
going
I was
to
kind
a
of getting
dictatorship.
when you started with it, like that's a slippery slope, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, you said fascism, and this is
I
not
mean, listen,
fascism, my friend.
no, it's not. But how do you think fascism starts? You know what I mean? This is like the
Yeah,
egg of
but
it. This
again,
is the
again,
embryo.
like right. But if you are shining a light on something, like how does something like that happen? Well, it doesn't happen with Mr. Beast. I'll tell you that. So it may
You know what?
start with
The listen, everybody watching, in 2043. While you're talking about President Beast, I apologize for my co-host here. I knew this was going to come. And if you're
No.
finding this in a bunker, because
Come at me. Come at me, bro.
What at 2043? I'll be 62 years old. So come at me. I hope I have a walker. I will whoop you. I don't care about Mr. Beast. Mr. President Beast. This is
you can't.
Idiocracy. This is the movie Idiocracy coming to life, where the most popular person, literally the most popular person, people are like, hey, let's have a goof in 2016, shall we? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Am I right, folks? Am I right? Let's get a good goof out of this. This will be hilarious. Watch this. And then people are like, did you vote for him? Yeah. Why? Is that bad?
Wait, what's happening?
He did. Wait, where is he?
What? Are you kidding me? His son?
He wants to put bleach in where?
He said, what about his daughter?
Oh, have you seen this photo resurfaced of them at like a concert or something, and his daughter's sitting on his lap and she's like 24, and it's the weirdest. I mean,
No, that's
this
not
is
weird.
what
Because when she was 30, she was on The View, and they said, what do you have in common with your daughter? And he said, well, I was going to say sex, but I mean, and look at that, Rex. She just had a baby, so you know how that goes. And they're like, stop being weird. Stop it. And he's like, hey, what can I say? I'm Donald Trump. The Trump likes to do what the Trump likes to do. Like the Remus from Boardwalk Empire, Remus knows what he likes, and Remus likes his daughter. So Remus will talk about his daughter, am I right?
don't you think that this Mr. Beast
You saying
Mr. Beast one more time. I'm
Mr.
kidding.
Beast,
I'm
Mr.
kidding.
Beast. Hey, it's got to get us into the algorithm. This has to. I've said Mr. Beast so many times, and I'm trying to cancel him just so we're clear. And I'm getting canceled because I'm canceling him.
Okay.
But don't you see like the similarities between what you just described about Trump and when I heard from different sources that like he's eventually going to run for president? That's like what he want, like that's the vision.
But you said The Rock
behind
was
the
going to run
scenes.
for president. That hasn't happened yet. And Marky Wahlberg was going to run for president back in the day, and Denzel Washington was going to run for president.
I thought
and Oprah was
Oprah
going
was
to
going
run
to run for
president.
president. Yeah,
Oprah was going to run for president. That didn't happen.
that's
Um,
yeah.
I mean,
She thought about it though.
Hunter
Yeah, but
S.
the difference
Thompson
is
was
like
going to
she
run for
thought about it.
president. Did run for
Who?
president. Hunter S. Thompson.
And you know who I'm voting for in 2024?
Hunter S. Thompson.
Who just announced. Although, I mean, if this other person doesn't pan out, yes, I will. I'll vote for him right out of a
Okay.
cannon. And I highly encourage you to look him up. He's a local Massachusetts, so it would be just like JFK getting into the office, another masshole.
Is that what you say? Do you
Vermin-
say Massachusetts?
I say masshole.
No, I'm
Massachusetts.
saying
that the actual way. Massachusetts? Is that how you say it? I don't think I've ever
everyone's
heard
just
that.
called Bostonian. Yeah, I don't know. Massachusetts.
people are like,
Masshole is a better way.
yeah, that's good.
That's
but
just
Like, I mean, I live in Indiana, so like saying a Hoosier, like that doesn't make sense. Like a Californian's a Californian, a Nevada, if someone from
what are you
Nevada is a
guys,
Nevada.
Indians?
No, we're Hoosiers. That's our like name, Hoosiers.
Oh,
you didn't see my
Hoosiers?
video.
About naming Indiana, did you? I don't think so. You guys see that?
I'll go back and watch it. By the way, subscribe to Ample Thought at Ample Thought.
Ample Thought.
But who you should vote for? Vermin Supreme. Wears a boot on his head. He's good friends with my buddy Robbie Road Steamer. He's just announced he's run every year.
Are these
He
fake
wants
names? Are these cartoons? Are these cartoon
Look up
people?
Vermin Supreme and Robbie Road Steamer on YouTube. Robbie Road Steamer, I saw him at the Paradise. I forget what was on Lansdowne Street. Him and his band, the Sweatpant Boners. I love them. I have his CD. It's somewhere around here.
Sweatpants.
Robbie Road Steamer. I'm telling you, look him up. They go on tour. They bring a mini pony everywhere. He says a mini pony for every American. Thank you. Write this down. They want a 27 per minute minimum wage. And Vermin Supreme is just going to change the world. If you haven't seen his stuff, I highly recommend it.
Vermin Supreme and Roadmaster Mike at the Vermin
Robbie
Sweatpants.
Road Steamer. Robbie Road Steamer. Vermin Supreme.
Steamer, chocolate German steamer, and
I feel like you're not writing it down.
I
You're going too fast.
Damn, I dropped.
Wait a minute. You don't even have a pen.
What?
So that's who I'm voting
What?
for 2024.
Vermin, got it.
Go
And he's a great
Vermin.
guy. Listen, they go to every
I believe you.
protest. They're out with the people. They're amongst the people. They're the people's people. So it's a good, solid vote. We got to get him in office. Plus, he has a mini pony, and he's guaranteeing ponies for everyone, which I don't question the math or
That
the
sounds like
finances
the
behind.
kid who's like running for student body president, who's like a Coke machine in every alley or hallway, and no more homework. Is that this guy? Kind of sounds like
Listen,
this guy.
I'm gonna leave it as a mystery, and I just want you to look him up and report back. I think you'll like him. He's got a powerful message, and Robbie's a musician, so vice.
What does he
I
play?
don't know if Robbie's gonna be a guitar, and
What
he does
kind of
stand
guitar?
up, acoustic,
Alright.
probably
maybe I'll-
untuned acoustic. Oh, so I really wanted to talk more about Louis C.K., but I know we're running way over.
Too big a topic.
We can.
Too big
It
to
really
fail.
is, but I think too kind to fail.
I said too big to fail for
Louis C.K.
Was he? You know, his
Apparently.
image too was so unique and so like well carved out for being a comic who really started the trend of like doing everything on his own. It was very organic. It was like, I'm gonna
You
record
have
this. I'm
60
gonna
seconds,
distribute.
Rob. You have 60 seconds.
All right. And now he's now he's not canceled. He's still doing it. What can I say?
Not canceled. Not canceled. Not
At
in the
all.
slightest.
He's probably making more money off being canceled than before. All right.
We shall see.
Man, this was I like this conversation. I appreciate you. Next week, same
I
time,
appreciate you.
roughly.
Yes.
And make sure you subscribe. Have you put out any videos since
No,
the
I'm
last
going
one?
Too soon, I swear. I'm going too soon. And apparently I need to do, I don't know. We keep going back and forth, but you need to be on my channel because you're getting all
100%.
this traffic. And
I am.
mean, you are
My view
gangbusters right
count
now.
is going up.
You're probably
I
just
Gonna
might
get canceled if you get on my show, so we'll see.
You got to do some shorts, okay? I'm
Okay.
wrapping up. Okay, hold on. Okay, so thank you so much. Subscribe to Okay, one second. Subscribe to Ample Thought, just Ample, then Thought at. I'll never forget or never not mention this.
Yeah. And
At
another
I
one.
love at another one. ANOTHAON3. And I just released a video today. I only got 20 subs. It would mean a lot if you go out there. It's a podcast channel discussing everything. I talk about my aunt passing. I'd like to dedicate this video to her and my cousins and my whole family that we lost. It was a big loss today. So
What was her name?
Barbara. My Aunt Barbara.
All
Aunt,
Good.
not aunt. Aunt.
Aunt Barbara.
You know what sucked is she was my mom's only biological sister, so a very close tie to my mom. My mom passed away obviously 12 years ago now. And I never got to catch back. We never got to reconnect over the course of the years. And she was really there for me after my mom passed. And it was so comforting because she looked like my mom. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things where you really that's when we probably bonded the hardest. When she was just supporting me. So today, it was just it's just been a tough
I'm
week.
really sorry to hear that, man.
I appreciate that. But and again, it's like it lights the fire. This is why I fight so hard for the ballot initiatives, all these things for people to be able to just afford to bury our dead. It's so infuriating. And that's what so long story short, that was my podcast video today. If you want to watch it, it's 21 minutes of me telling I'm not angry at you. I'm just angry. I think I have to say that a couple of times. But Brendan, thank you so much. And next week, subscribe to all the channels, please. If you're watching this and not subscribed, why? Leave it in the comments. Tell me why you're not subscribed. This is seriously so confusing. I get so many watch time from non-subscribers, and I'm like, why? Why? What do I need to do to make you hit the button and hit it for Brendan's? Come on. All right.
Don't do it for Rob. Do it for me.
Do it. Just do it for us. Peace.